This is a breaking news alert from KSFY. We want to show you live pictures from our Avera Skycam network camera in Pierre. That is a fire that is underway right now. We were talking about it before the break with Tony Mangan from KCCR Radio in Pierre. This is the Capitol Inn and Suites. If you have ever been to Pierre or stayed in Pierre, you know about this hotel. A lot of lawmakers stay here, make it their residence during the session. A lot of journalists stay there when they go to cover this area. Popular with travelers as well. There is a raging fire underway there right now.
Yeah, look at those flames there. Tony Mangan, who was just joining us by phone in the past couple of minutes, had said that there are a number of crews on scene fighting that blaze right there. Just had found out about it within the last 20 minutes or so, but this is just an unbelievable photo or image of these flames here at
This is a fire that apparently broke out right around 4 o'clock. We know that in addition to the Pierre Fire Department, that a mutual aid call has been put in for the Fort Pierre Fire Department as well. So there are multiple departments with multiple units on scene. Tony reported to us just moments ago that as of this moment, there are no known injuries or anything like that, but obviously this is a very dangerous situation. As we watch this unfold live here on KSFY, those flames just licking the sky. You can see that smoke that is just pouring out of there at this time.
A tweet just sent in about 2 minutes ago from the Capitol Journal had said the room that exploded is fully engulfed. And as you can see from that video, those flames are just taking over a lot of that building there. And really unbelievable for us to see sitting here.
It's amazing to watch. You don't think that anything like this would ever happen on this scale in any area, let alone in Pierre, and we're watching it unfold right now. That tweet from the Capitol Journal mentioned the word explosion. We have not received any type of official confirmation as to what started this fire. How did this touch off? We do not know that yet, but all we know is that whatever happened is obviously spreading through this area at this time. Multiple units engulfed, and those flames just continuing to lick the sky. And one thing that Tony Mangan mentioned that we have to touch on is the conditions that these firefighters are in. It is bitterly cold in Pierre right now. It is windy in Pierre right now. They're getting wet because of the fire hoses that they're using to try to battle this fire. Just kind of a miserable situation for firefighters right now.
And this is something that Pierre, Fort Pierre, anywhere around that region, at least from what I've noticed being here 4 years, something we've never seen before, at least in recent memory. A hotel going up in flames there in Pierre, our capital city, on a day where it's cold. It is dangerous for everybody who is fighting the fires. The Pierre Capitol Journal had also mentioned that one firefighter is being checked out by medics, but he is talking and moving again. That is not confirmed, but it is a tweet by the Capitol Journal.
Take a look at this live image. Just above the HD in the lower right part of your screen, you see what looks like a ground crew with a hose trying to douse this fire from the ground level. You can also very clearly see in the upper center portion of your picture that they have the ladder deployed and extended right now, and they're trying to battle this from the top as well, trying to pour as much water on it as they can. And you know, we're not firemen, but from the outside looking in, it looks like these flames just are not abating one bit.
That is a lot of smoke and a lot of flames. I'm sure that is one fire that can be seen from many, many miles. People driving by the city, people looking from far away, even us taking a look. This is our Skycam, our Avera Skycam in Pierre. Phil had pointed this out just moments ago, and it is really an incredible sight, and we can only hope that nobody is hurt, you know, everyone is in safety now, and that they can get this under control and put out soon.
Sure, looks like we have a map image here that we're... Right, this is located, to help you get your bearings, this is located just to the south of the Capitol Lake area. So the Capitol Lake right adjacent to the state capitol. This is the area that we're talking about that is just immediately to the south of that Capitol Lake area.
Goodness, yeah, these don't look like they're letting up anytime soon. Of course, we are following this. This is a busy area. This is our capital city. And again, this just came into us a few minutes ago. Tony Mangan, KCCR Radio, telling us that it is a busy scene. It is hectic. There are a lot of crews on scene helping to put out this fire. Again, something we haven't seen in a long time there.
No, and it was Phil Schreck that actually first noticed this image and said, you might want to take a look at this. And we are sharing it with you right now. Again, this image coming to us via the KSFY Avera Skycam network. This is our camera that is based in the capital city of Pierre. This fire continuing to rage at the Capitol Inn and Suites at this time. Tony Mangan from KCCR Radio in Pierre. Where are you at? And I hope you're safe.
Thank you. I am. I'm right across the street from the hotel on what is called East Wells Avenue. I am watching the flames come up over above me at this point. Bright orange and yellow flames, dark smoke. It is coming up over it's going to the east rather, over a convenience store that many people know as Checkers. And Checkers has been evacuated, we understand. And all the smoke is just moving toward the east. I can see smoke for blocks upon blocks right now. And right now, this fire is not getting any better. And they are working on this. They're trying to get it under control, but the fire continues to come up. They look like they have lost it. They are pretty close to the west side of the building, and they are trying to just get it under control. And they are going to be here for a long time.
Tony, question for you. We had talked about 20 minutes ago live on the air. We appreciate you being with us again. Do we know of any confirmation of any injuries? Have you spoken with law enforcement there on the scene quite yet?
To the knowledge that I have at this point, there have been no injuries. But you never know in a situation like this. You do have a lot of tenants from this building who stay here for, like, if they're working in the area, construction crews, for example, or just temporary residents. And they have been moved to the Georgia Morris Middle School, which is several blocks away. So at this point, they're trying to take care of them. There are ambulances here. There's at least one ambulance that I've seen. I've not seen it have to leave with anybody at this point. But at this point, it really is just fire control. And one thing we'll say is, if you're in the Pierre area, you don't need to be here if you don't need to be, because it is a serious issue at this point.
Tony, hang with me here for a second. I have two questions. Number one, we're seeing this live on our Avera Skycam network. Is this thing engulfed fully from one end to the other?
Yes. It started on the west side at about 4 o'clock, and it was shooting up from the roof, and it has just kept moving. I mean, you can see the flames, still move, and all the smoke is coming up from west to east. And they've got their big ladder truck trying to shoot down. There is still, it's not burned to the ground yet. The entire building is not burned to the ground yet. But they are working on it. I can see flames as we stand right here, Brian. I can see flames on the west side of the building. There is a part of the roof, as we're speaking, that's coming down, that is falling off the building. So at this point, this is all about salvage right now, because it is a major. I mean, this building is going to, if it's not completely destroyed, it will be pretty close.
Hey, Tony, you mentioned that this fire is moving off to the east towards the Checkers convenience store. I've been there a lot of times. Checkers has gas. Checkers has propane tanks. Is there any worry that this fire spreads to that, and then that there's some type of secondary explosion or secondary fire? Is that why it's evacuated?
Well, I think it's evacuated mainly because of the smoke. But at this point, the fire is not close from where I'm at to Checkers. The fire is still on the west side of the hotel, and it's on the east side of the and the Checkers is on the east side of the hotel. The fire is still on the west side. But I'm seeing now since I talked to you 20 minutes ago, all the flames were on the west side of the building. The flames are now moving toward the center of the building. We
are going to get back to Tony Mangan. We are going to go right now to senior meteorologist Phil Schreck. He has been watching this from the Avera Skycam network. He also has some mapping tools that he's been working with as well. And familiarize us with this area, Phil. Where are we talking about?
Well, yeah, if we can here's weather one here now. So here's where the fire is going on right now. It's just to get you your relationship here. There's the state capitol building right there. There's the Hyde baseball stadium, Hollister football field, and there's Capitol Lake. And that's where the fire is going on right now at the Capitol Inn and Suites. And Avera St. Mary's is across the street here to the south, a little more towards the river. So we're looking to the north when we're showing you that shot, and we'll bring it back up again a little bit later. But that's where the fire is. So it looks like Avera St. Mary's is, not going to be in any sort of peril at all, because the wind is coming in from the northwest. So whatever flames and smoke that's being affected by that wind is moving to the south and east. And as the folks were talking about, that the Checkers gas station is relatively close here to the east. So they've evacuated folks from there. But the wind coming in from the north and west west, pushing the flames and the smoke to the south and east. But again, there's Capitol Lake, there's the Capitol building itself, which looks like no danger at all because the wind is coming in and blowing in from the northwest to the southeast. So that's a little bit of a perspective for you on where that fire is going on in relationship to other landmarks in Pierre.
Phil, thank you for cluing us in on that. Let's go ahead and, wow. Tony Mangan said in his 17 years at KCCR Radio in Pierre that if this wasn't the fire that was at the top of the list, that it was close, and you can easily see why. Jim Sedaris, the fire chief with Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, joining us live now here on KSFY. Jim, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. Tell us what it's like to fight a fire where the winds are gusting up to around 20 and the wind chill's 3 below.
Well, it's going to take an effect on firefighters because not only the wind chill, but as they start to get water blown across them, you have to worry about just their safety for the exposure issues, especially when you have something of this magnitude going on and you're going to be using a lot of your resources like that. You're going to want to start moving people in and out of warm areas just to keep their core temperatures up.
Chief Sedaris, this is Courtney Collin. I know we met 4 years ago when I first got here, and you've been the division chief and the chief for a lot longer than that. Tell me, have you ever seen anything to this magnitude in Sioux Falls or really in any community across our state?
We had a fire in Sioux Falls that I'm still trying to wrap my brain around the distance, but we did have one. Ours, instead of being a long, flat structure, a one-story structure, was 4 stories high city block, which was a major fire. We didn't have the wind that they're dealing with, and you can kind of see the wind, essentially feeding this fire, and that's going to be one of the critical issues. Is when you look at these fires, the first thing you want to do is rescue, and then the second one is prevent exposures. You know, the buildings surrounding these to keep them from burning, but they probably have very limited resources there. So they're going to have to use their crews and their all the volunteers that they're going to pull in wisely to just help it from spreading to other structures.
Yeah, and speaking of the crews on the scene, do we know how many would be needed to fight the blaze that they are in Pierre there?
Oh, I would think you're looking at, you might even need 100 people there. I'm not sure of their water supply, but just to shovel in water, move your crews in and out of areas where they can get warmed up. It's a major operation, and then also just to lay out the hoses to start getting enough water. And this might just be essentially you're going to surround it and almost have to let it burn out. You just don't want it to spread because it looks like pretty much everything there, at least from the pictures on TV, it looks like it's pretty much fully involved.
And as soon as you said totally involved, our live picture sprung to life again with what looked like another mini type of fireball coming out of this. Chief Sedaris, this is a layman's question, but this is a fire that is happening at a motel structure. Is there anything about the structure of a motel that makes the fire any more difficult to fight or any more dangerous to fight?
Well, some things you're going to have to think about is, and I think I've stayed at this location, is you have large roof areas that you do have to worry about collapse, because those, as you start to lose the structural support members, you have to worry about collapse of those roofs. Also, the fire can get up there, and depending on when it was constructed, can really move very, very quickly through those upper areas. So those are going to be things to worry about. Another thing, obviously, and we're just talking just real briefly, is accountability for firefighters and accountability for people that are staying in the location itself, because you could have 100 people there, and you do need to get accountability of all the residents that are staying there.
We have standing by on the line with us now Lori Gill, who is the mayor of the city of Pierre. Mayor Gill, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell us what you have been told, if anything. Have emergency crews, emergency managers been in touch with you? And if so, what have they relayed to you?
Yeah, well, right now, what I'm aware of is the blaze is going on at Capital City Inn and Suites. We do have the Pierre Fire Department on site. They have called in for reinforcement from some of the neighboring communities. We have an agreement also with the Hughes County Rural Fire Department. So I know that we've got reinforcements on site as well. I am not aware that there's been any injuries yet, a minor injury possible with a firefighter, but that's about what I know right now. Everything's in full gear fighting the fire.
Mayor Gill, Courtney Collin here asking you another question. How many crews do you have with Pierre and Fort Pierre? You were mentioning the crews. Do you know roughly how many are on the ground right now?
I don't know who's fighting it on site, but I do know we have a volunteer fire department in Pierre. It's a very good department. We usually have between 50 and 65 volunteers at any time that are trained up, ready to go. So that gives you an idea of the size of the fire department. They will be working in shifts. This is a major blaze, and so they'll be doing shifts so that as one group will need to have a rest, another one will come in. So that's how they'll be manning it. From here, I'm just waiting to get more information from the folks that are on site.
Mayor Gill, let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about the history of this place and the relevance of this place. This is where a lot of lawmakers stay during the legislative session. This is a well-known stop for travelers. This is a well-known place for journalists to stay when they are covering events in Pierre. This is an important part of the city of Pierre, and we're watching it burn tonight.
Yeah, you know, Capital City Inn and Suites, it has been a fixture in the community for many years. It is something, you're right, it's a location that people are used to seeing. They not only have overnight rooms, but they also have a more extended stay type scenario. There are people that live there permanently. There are a lot of legislators that stay there, you're right, for extended stay. So it is a fixture in the community, and whenever there is a blaze like this in town, it takes your breath away. It's very serious. It's scary. But we do have a great volunteer fire department, and they're working hard right now to try to get the blaze under control.
We are going on the phone now to Matt. Is your last name Jeffrey?
Jeffrey.
Okay, Matt, thank you for joining us live here on KSFY, our live continuing coverage. You are a former Pierre firefighter, is that correct?
That is correct. A former Pierre firefighter for a couple of years. And I can tell you a little bit more about these individuals right now that are battling this flame. They're calling this it's a surround and drown type situation. What it is, and like what Tony has said, they're just trying to protect everything else around it, try to keep everything else contained to this building. So yeah, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be a all-nighter for sure. There's been two of them that I remember that's been hard to deal with for a fire that needs to be contained. Lori Gill has also touched on the recycling plant a few years ago. And then also, before that, in Fort Pierre was the old sail barge fire that took a long time to knock down. So it's one of those nights that's going to take a long time to push through. But I know that my Pierre firefighters will be able to get through this with all the great training that they have from the city of Pierre.
Absolutely, Matt, and we hope that they are all safe while they do it. But as a former Pierre firefighter, talk about just the situation at hand and, you know, what would be going through your mind if you were on the scene right there? Of course, it could have been you at any time, but talk about what's going through your mind seeing this and as a former firefighter.
Right now, first thing, as soon as I saw this was just the jitters that I have right now, because I wish I was there right now helping out my friends and trying to get through all this. But one of the main things you got to think about is the safety for everybody being involved in this. As the head fire chief, I am Paul, I know that he's the incident commander in this, and I know that he's telling his troops and to be safe out there. Like I already said, it's a surround and drown type situation. So hopefully everybody got out in time, and hopefully everybody got safe.
Nancy McKenney with the Red Cross in Pierre, joining us live now here on KSFY to continue our coverage. Nancy, good evening.
Good evening.
Tell us what you are doing as a result of this fire that we've been watching now for over an hour.
We've opened up a respite center for everybody that was involved. I'd say we probably have 3 dozen people. I haven't been here long enough to really count them, but we're making sure they stay warm, making sure they got food, coffee, water. We just got a friend of ours just brought in some coloring books and some toys. We got quite a few little kids.
Well, we're so grateful for what you're doing on this scene there, Nancy. I'm not sure how long you've been in Pierre or been with the Red Cross, but give us an idea of the work that you guys do. And kind of, you know, it's not easy for Brian and I to be talking about this because the images are just incredible with all the smoke and the flames. But the work that you do there, what kind of comes to mind, the feeling that comes to mind when you're doing this work to help the victims of this massive fire?
Well, first, our main concern is accountability. We want to be sure everybody is accounted for, that the families know where they're at, they're all safe and sound. You know, it's hard when people are taken by shuttle bus here and there, and they try to direct them all to the middle school, but that isn't always happening. And that is, to me, our most important feature is to find them and then be able to tell their parent, be able to tell family where they're at.
Nancy, let's talk about this for a second, the idea of accountability. How hard is that to attain, given the fact that this is a motel and by definition it's transient? These aren't necessarily people who are there all the time. They are people who are checked in for a day, maybe 2 days. How do you go about dotting those I's and crossing those T's where accountability is concerned?
Well, this motel is a lot of it is long term. It's a motel, and you can stay there, but a lot of the people that are staying there are people that take it by the month.
Now let's switch gears, and we're going to speak to Mr. David Volz. I believe I was told he helped build the Capitol Inn and Suites. David, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Give us an idea of your connection with this establishment and what it's like to see this go up in flames.
Well, I think it was back in 1978. I was an apprentice electrician back then, helped building it. I believe it was the Motel 6 that was constructed at the time. It's been 35, 36 years ago, but I believe there was like 48 rooms per building. There was a total of 4 buildings there, and it was built on a flat concrete slab, so there's no basement to worry about water filling up. But yeah, I ran a lot of conduit for the electrical part of that building back in the days, and it is kind of sad to see something I helped build going up in flames like that.
David, let's talk about this concept for a second. We were talking about this earlier with Tony Mangan, the idea that the rooms in this motel are obviously separated out, but there is that open attic concept, which is what's allowing this fire to just go through there. Tell me, is there anything else that you know structurally about this specific motel that would make it susceptible to fire or that would allow a fire to move through it fast other than this open attic concept? Anything about the construction?
Well, each of them were supposed to be, contained within themselves. They each had, I believe, 5/8" sheetrock encapsulated each of the rooms, so if it was in a specific room, it would be fine. The only weak part about that is the bathroom. They all had exhaust fans in there, and they would exhaust up in through the attic. And once something would breach that exhaust fan and get up into that attic, it's just like a big open space. And most of our houses are constructed that way, where if you're up in the attic of your house, you can see from one end to the other. Well, then you think about the size of your house and multiply that probably by about 2 to 3 times in length. Once it gets up there, and then of course with the ventilation and things up there and the way the wind was blowing, once it gets up there, there's really nothing to prevent it from going through the entire building. I know some places they actually put firewalls between structures. So like if you have like a duplex house, they'll insist that the sheetrock goes all the way through up, so there is a break. But in this particular construction, it's just wide open there, and you could break through the sheetrock in one room, clear all over the rafters, and jump down into the next room, just breaking through the sheetrock. So back, typical of the construction back in the day, that's just the way it was done.
And we appreciate all of your knowledge so far as we're talking here live on the phone with you. David, will you tell us, do you know of any of the system as far as alarms, smoke detectors, sprinklers in this type of a building?
Yes, if I recall when we wired it, there was alarm stations located throughout the building on the outside. So if there was a fire, you would just pull the alarm and the alarms would go off. In fact, I went down there and I did hear the alarms going off in the building. There's also smoke detectors, if I remember, in each of the rooms, and I did hear those also alerting when I was down there. So there was the alarm system and the smoke detector system in there, so that part was there, and I believe it was working properly.
David, let's talk about this. You touched on this earlier, but you helped build this place, and tonight you are watching it burn. Maybe not necessarily burn to the ground, but I mean, it is out of commission, most obviously, for a while. What's that like to know that something that you invested time and sweat in is meeting this fate tonight?
Well, it's kind of sad because it's been a fixture for Pierre for 35 or so years. Right now, I'm looking at the picture on the TV, and of course, it is a two-story structure. Fortunately, with the sheetrock in the first floor, I think that will help contain the fire itself, the working fire, to hopefully just the second floor. And if the firemen can knock that down, that'll sure help get the fire out quicker like that. But it is kind of a shame to see a landmark like that go down. But, from the ashes, hopefully something better will rise.
All right, David Volz, your insight has really been invaluable tonight. To be able to speak to someone who was there when this place was built, that's access to information that we didn't necessarily think that we would have, and it gives us better and greater context in telling this story and helping us understand it, which then helps you at home understand it. Especially
an establishment that was built. Is he still on the line? Can you clarify when this building was built?
I believe it was 1978. I think it was my first year as an apprentice electrician, so I'm sure it was 78. It could possibly be 79, but I think 78 is the number.
It was a building that Mayor Gill said earlier on the phone as she joined us live a few moments ago. This is a staple for folks who are, lawmakers to stay for many months out of the year for session and for folks coming in just to stay the night. I mean, this is right on a busy stretch of road as people come in and out of Pierre, and just hard to even watch as someone just taking a look at these images here to see go up in flames. I can't imagine what it's like for him having worked on it.
Yeah. My job is to secure my clients' this financial future, and with this town, being so short-staffed or short on apartments and rentals, especially for those that live on the $600 to $1,200 that they receive from Social Security Disability and the federal government, it's hard-pressed for me to find suitable housing. And so I look to all of the apartment buildings in this town for monthly rates. And I'm very sad to say that I have several families that are there. And, I'm extremely concerned because I can't get in there, obviously, to find out. And I'm hoping by the news article that they're safe at the middle school, and that I expect my day to be long tomorrow to try to find suitable housing, which will be extremely hard. Everybody's been full. I've, over the last 2 weeks, tried to find suitable housing at many apartments and motels. And like the previous person said, this is the peak of the hunting season, and that's when the motels around here make their money, and they don't have the monthly rates. So, it just bothered me that I hadn't heard that there's quite a few of these families that live there full time, and that's their only means. And without it, it's going to take a huge detriment to our town.
Tony Mangan from KCCR Radio had given us a wealth of information earlier from what he had heard from authorities there in Pierre, saying that from what he heard that it started in a bathroom. Yeah. And now we don't have any confirmation further from that about what could have started it, what has caused it to grow so large as it is on your screen.
Yeah, that it happened in a second floor bathroom, and that the word he used was explosion.
So many unanswered questions.
Sure.
Scary, scary situation. So many unanswered questions that we're still trying to get answered.
We are going to continue to watch this for you. Obviously, we will have updates both on air and online. We do have a crew on its way to Pierre. And we thank you for being with us tonight. We know you have many choices for news, and we thank you for choosing KSFY.
Of course, the latest always online, KSFY.com, Twitter, and Facebook.
See you at 10.